move away from the Czech Republic and the Autodromo Most, and we fall down on Misano for the Emilia-Romagna round of the 2025 World Superbikes Championship. It's time for race 2 and the final race of the weekend. Let's go down and join your World Feed team.
10th place, but crashed out of that Superpole race. He was within striking distance of the top 9 positions, still looking to better his best result yet in World SBK of 8th place, which he matched yesterday in race 1. Alongside him on row number 5 here, Michael van der Mark and Garrett Gerloff. Van der Mark yet to score this weekend, retired from race 1. He's had a few crashes thus far in Misano, struggling to keep the bike on the island, but it was 12th in the Superpole race, at least getting to the finish.
Yeah, and for Van der Mark, he needs to try and do the same. We saw a lot of incidents in the Supersport race, so if you're able to get to the finish, there is the chance that other riders mightn't. So for Van der Mark, needs to try and at least match what he did in the Supersport race.
5 minutes until we get underway here with the final, the climax of the Pirelli Emilia-Romagna round. Down to the grid with our pit reporter, Liam Hodgins.
Thanks very much, Alex. Down on the grid with BMW. Sean, your shot has been a perfect weekend so far for Top Rack. 2 victories. You were chased after the third one, which would be quite the stock if you managed to do it in Ducati's home back garden.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable from Top Rack. The effort he's put in and his team, the guys have just ground away. They know they're against it. They know they've got issues, and with the track temperature so high and the grip levels, but you know, we keep fighting, we keep doing what we need to do. And you know, we just want to try and claw that points lead down. You know, we didn't think we could get a win here. We knew we'd be very close, but we thought Nicolo would have a bit more for us. But never mind, it is. We take everything we can at the moment, and we just got to keep giving Mikey all the help we can. You know, he's just struggling a little bit with his confidence at the moment. But yeah, it's that time of year. It's getting hot, and it's hot on the grid, and my feet are burning. And let's just see what we can do in this race.
All the best of luck, Sean, for the race.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Andrea Ionone's bike is being wheeled back into pit lane, and we're told that is because of a tyre pressure infringement. So Andrea Iannone, as said on the grid there when we saw him, has been a miserable weekend for him, and it's going from bad to worse. Iannone, who originally qualified in P7, looking for his first points of the weekend following a retirement in race 1, and failing to score with that jump start in the Superpole race, and this is going very wrong indeed for Andrea Iannone.
Just on the grid, there's that random check, and for Iannone, unfortunately, he was obviously the rider chosen for that, and that's going to put him at a big penalty now for today.
Let's run through the rest of the grid. Garrett Gerloff, P15, Xavi Vierge, Scott Redding and Ryan Vickers, row 6, Bahattin Sofoglu, Michael Ruben Rinaldi and Taz McKenzie was due to complete that 7th row. Zakwan Zaidi, the last of the runners on the grids. Wins apiece in 2025 for Toprak Razgatlioglu and Nicolo Bulega, and now only 1 podium separates them in the title race. Bulega had been 2 rostrums clear since Phillip Island, 2 non-scores there for Toprak, both riders missing the podium twice in Assen, but Bulega's 3rd retirement of the season after a first turn incident in race 1 this morning makes a 12-point dent on Toprak's Australian round deficit, and he now trails by just 14 points, the smallest margin since the opening race of the season in February. Alex Raby and Steve English with you to find out whether that gap will be tighter still as we reach the halfway mark this afternoon. Steve Toprak had only 3 wins in the first 4 rounds. He's now taken 4 of the last 5 victories, and momentum is on his side.
Momentum very much on Toprak's side. Nicola Bulega from the 4th row of the grid. He's got the pressure of having to come through. He's had 2 crashes already today, and he needs to make sure in the opening laps he's able to get to the front, go with Razgatlioglu. If Toprak opens up a margin of 1 second, 1.5 seconds over Bulega, it's tough to make that gap back. Just looking at what we've got from Pirelli as well, Bulega out there on the softer front tyre today. He's changed from the hard tyre like he used yesterday. Sam Lowe's on the number 14 bike. He's out there on that harder front. He's the only one of the front runners out there with that tyre. Further down the field, the likes of Scott Redding and Garrett Gerloff also using it.
Yeah, plenty of riders saying right from Friday that actually the front tyre that gave them the consistency and the confidence to push was that softer tyre, so perhaps no great surprise that in the end, but it's a question of the track temperatures, I guess, to an extent, that have made the riders need to look twice as well.
I think for someone like Sam, he used the tyre yesterday. He missed out on the long run on Friday afternoon. Sometimes you're better off with the devil you know, even if it's not quite got the same level of performance right from the start.
There's Andrea Iannone, has made his way back out onto track. As I said, he will have to start the race from the back of the grid as a result of that tyre pressure infringement. So he joins up the field, and as I'd mentioned previously, we're also down Taz McKenzie for mechanical reasons before we get underway here.
Yeah, it's a real shame for Iannone because qualified well in the Superpole race, but had a three-place grid penalty, dropped further down the field, then obviously had the jump start in the Superpole race, and the momentum's just working against him all the time.
Good to see the big crowd figure of 76,000. It is usually the biggest of the season here in Misano. The fans come out to support their local heroes, but also plenty of teams, and obviously Ducati as a lead manufacturer based just down the road, so always a lot of attention on this round in particular. We come into the final race of the weekend in Misano that takes us to the halfway mark in the 2025 campaign, with Nicolo Bulega losing 12 points this morning to Toprak Razgatlioglu after a first turn crash in the Superpole race. 14 points the gap, separate race for third, with 24 points covering Danilo Petrucci, Alvaro Bautista and Andrea Locatelli, and they are the next three riders in line after Toprak Razgatlioglu and Alex Lowe on the grid. Watch for Bulega coming through from row number 4. P10 on the start here. 70th Superbike race here in Misano gets underway. Bit of lift for Toprak Razgatlioglu. Alex Lowe's alongside him into the first turn. Locatelli has outdragged Lowe's into turn 1. Petrucci will try to dive through on the inside into turn 2. Bautista going on the outside of a 3 abreast situation there. Will lose out to Jonathan Ray. So 1 place lost for Alvaro Bautista after a decent initial run. Nicolo Bulega on the outside of Remy Gardner as he has a big moment under braking towards turn 4. This is the Rio section of the circuit, the end of the opening sector. Petrucci then up to third. So Alex Lowe's dropping down in the end. It's Razgatlioglu leading Locatelli, Petrucci, Lowe's, then Ray ahead of Bautista. Nicolo Bulega coming through on Remy Gardner now. That's him up into 7th position on lap 1.
Yeah, and decent effort on the first couple of corners there from Bulega. It was Iker Lecuona actually made the fastest start, and Bulega does well just to avoid any trouble.
Jonathan Ray went very wide coming off turn 8. It's going to leave him under pressure now into Tremonto, turns 9 and 10, and Alvaro Bautista is indeed through for 5th position as they flash past us and onto the straight, the highest speeds of the circuit towards Curvone, and Nicolo Bulega is already through on Jonathan Ray as well, so that's Bulega up into top 6. You did say that Bulega would be top 6 by the end of lap 1.
He's not hanging around, he's going to come through now and his teammate as well, but for Bulega doing exactly what he has to, in a little bit hot into 14, but he's going to hold off Jonathan Ray as well and give himself the chance to have the run there on Bautista, probably into the last corner or down in towards turn 1.
Nicolo Bulega trying to find his way past Bautista into turn 14, but Bautista made the turn and held on to track position. 5th place for Bautista, who of course won't necessarily be thinking about the team and the World Championship, with the knowledge that he'll be moving on next season.
You can see he'll be right on board with Bulega as well. Bautista just able to exit those corners that little bit easier, picks up a bike length, and just means that Bulega's a little bit out of reach down into turn 1. But Nico, he's only going to need half a door and he will come through. Yeah, shouldn't be too long. Bautista looks like he's backing the whole train up, actually, and Jonathan Ray is right still on the tail of Nicolo Bulega, even after Bulega made that pass at turn 11 last time around on the opening lap. Locatelli sees Razgatlioglu escaping away, 1.2 for the record. Bulega's 2.6 now, back from Toprak Razgatlioglu as they go side by side for 3rd position. Alex Lowe's responding against Danilo Petrucci. We saw how hard these two fought it out for a place on the podium in race 1 yesterday. Alex Lowe's ultimately missing out, and missing out on lap number 2 as well, as Razgatlioglu streaks off into the distance. 1.6 seconds the gap, and Alvaro Bautista now still trying to fend off Nicolo Bulega for 5th position. Curvone, both of the Ducatis fast through there. Sam Lowe's coming through on Remy Gardner, that's for 8th position, but your next pass is going to be for 5th position. Nicolo Bulega needs to get through on Bautista quickly, because Razgatlioglu is already 2.5 seconds up the road. Alvaro's been told he's got no future at the Aruba Ducati team. He's not in any hurry to let his teammate through. Bulega, he's going to go for 3 seconds down on Toprak at the end of this lap.
Yes, the Ruberite factory Ducati team will be wishing they hadn't told Bautista before this Pirelli Emilia-Romagna round about his future as the two in the race for third position go side by side again. Alex Lowe's trying to get the run off the final turn, but the Ducati has more grunt down the start-finish straight, 510 metres in towards turn number 1. Petrucci leads the way in that battle for third position ahead of Alex Lowe's, Alvaro Bautista and Nicolo Bulega, all in one group together. There's only 0.6 of a second between them. Bulega, the closest he's been to Bautista, finally gets the job done into Rio. Bautista tries to come back up the inside, but he's not quite close enough.
Let's see if Alvaro's strong through turn 6 to see if he can go with Bulega. Looks like maybe Nico's just got that little bit of a gap. 2.5
laps for Nicolo Bulega to get through on Alvaro Bautista, and now his gap to Toprak Razgatlioglu is 3.5 seconds. Toprak has really laid down the gauntlet at the start of this race, doing exactly what he needed to do, gets his head down. He's 2 seconds clear of Andrea Locatelli, and the target for Bulega now is second place.
Toprak's gone, he's pit board watching now for the rest of this race. Let's see if Bulega's able to pick it up out of turn 10 to get the run on Alex Lowe's into 11. We know how strong he is into turn 11.
Carbone has been an opportunity for the Ducatis over the last couple of seasons, as we see Toprak Razgatlioglu in his margin of 2.5 seconds over Andrea Locatelli, Petrucci right with him, Alex Lowe's, Nicolo Bulega, Alvaro Bautista at the back of that group, and he's got to stick with Bulega now and try and move through as Nicolo makes his passes towards that second place.
Yeah, and you can see for these riders in second, third and fourth, they've got good pace and good consistency. It's not easy for Bulega to come through, even though when he has clear air, he has a few tenths of a second in hand on them.
Exiting the final turn on lap number 3, the Lozano corner, and then the speed builds down this start-finish straight. We ride on board with Nicolo Bulega, looking at the back of Alex Lowe's through turn 1. He's not going to be close enough into turn 2 to make a stab there.
Bulega said yesterday he was only really able to feel about 90% with the bike. You need to be at 100 if you want to beat Toprak, he said. Right now, he's in that place where it's quite difficult to really have that confidence just to put the bike down the inside of everyone. He knows the race will come towards him, but he has to be patient.
Element of danger, though, isn't there, when you're making these passes as well? He's not used to having to scrap with these riders. He has generally been able to qualify towards the front, always finish in those top few positions. The best example I can think of is Assen, obviously, where he had that retirement in the Superpole race and had to come back from 10th on that occasion. Bulega has made his move now on Alex Lowe's. Meanwhile, Andrea Locatelli coming under increasing pressure from Danilo Petrucci. Still a 5-rider group, all covered by a second. Locatelli, Petrucci, Bulega, Alex Lowe's and Alvaro Bautista, the order from second place down. And then it's Jonathan Ray and Sam Lowe's not too far adrift as we saw them flash through the camera.
And on track, it's only Razgatlioglu and Bulega.
Oh, Bulega's ahead of Petrucci. That's for third position. So next up for Nicolo Bulega, it's Andrea Locatelli. We're watching Scott Redding down in 12th place. Nicolo Bulega now will be attacking Andrea Locatelli for second position as they come through to the end of lap number 4, and it's almost mission accomplished for Bulega to get up into second. He's going to be the best part of 4 seconds down on Toprak by the time he does so.
Yeah, he's just going to be in that position now where he just needs to hold on to that 20 points per second when he comes through in Locatelli. He should be able to make that move on Locca, but Andrea's doing a good job there as well. 0.7 of a second faster than Andrea Locatelli last lap around. Nicolo Bulega in third, so it's a matter of time before he finds his way through. Meanwhile, Alvaro Bautista with a new personal best on lap 4 gains 0.3 of a second over Petrucci in fourth. Locca lost it all at turn 8 last time around. He's going to lose the spot, you'd imagine, to Bulega on the run down into 8th. This time he needs to consolidate where he is, come away with a podium.
Both Aruba IT Racing Ducatis making their progress. Alvaro Bautista starting to close on the men in front of him as Nicolo Bulega makes that move already very early down the back straight and the run towards La Quercia. And Bulega has finally made the passes from 10th on the grid and up into second, but the gap is over 4 seconds to Toprak Razgatlioglu, your race leader.
Yeah, and this is where for Bulega he just needs to open a gap of a second to Locatelli, get himself out of reach, and then just come away with your 20 points per second.
Now the rest are racing for third, aren't they? Locatelli, Petrucci, Alex Lowe's, Alvaro Bautista. Jonathan Ray still matching Bautista's pace last lap around. A new personal best, actually faster than Alvaro Bautista fractionally. And Sam Lowe's as well. As we watch this battle for 10th place, Vieche, Gardner, Redding again. Gardner dropping behind the Honda man and now into the clutches of Scott Redding. But your race is for third and fourth positions because there's just 0.6 of a second between 4 riders. Locatelli, Petrucci, Alex Lowe's and Alvaro Bautista. This is Andrea Iannone. He's 15th. That'll be worth 1 point as we pick up our leaders once again. And Alvaro Bautista with the run on Alex Lowe's in towards turn 1. Sam Lowe's attacking Jonathan Ray, and he is through through. Jonathan Ray tries to hang on in there for the inside into turn 2. Sam Lowe takes the line away. He's up to 7th.
Yeah, Sam needed to come through there, and then otherwise you lose touch with that group in front. Toprak, a new fastest lap last time around, pulls out another 0.4 of a second on Bulega. The gap almost 5 seconds now.
Yeah, right over as far as the win is concerned, barring incident or errors for Toprak Razgatlioglu. He can just ride to his pit board now and manage his tyre consumption for the remaining 16 laps. It's going to be a lonely afternoon if things go as planned for Toprak. Alvaro Bautista, closest he's been to Alex Lowe, a bit of a wobble on entry to La Quercia as well. As further back, Jonathan Ray loses a place. That'll be Iker Lecuona coming through for 8th position, but it's Bautista the man on the move.
Yeah, and that's that momentum that you lose from turn 1 on really there for Ray, because suddenly Lecuona's right there with you. He loses 2 spots in this lap.
So Alex Lowe's down to 6th place, and he is the next quarry for Sam Lowe, who's already moved through on Jonathan Ray. Meanwhile, for Alvaro Bautista, 0.7 of a second down on Locatelli, 0.3 of a second down on Danilo Petrucci. So a podium is very much an option. We see 2 bikes down in the gravel trap.
That's Gardner and Yari Montella, it looks like, down there, and it's a Tremonto turn 10.
So Gardner down again and out for the second of the feature-length races this weekend. Just having no luck at the moment at GRT, are they? With Dominic Egerton already missing out on this race as we come into lap 7, or Toprak does, and the rest are coming into it now 5 laps down. Locatelli breaking away slightly from Danilo Petrucci with a new personal best lap last time around. New personal best 2nd and 3rd sectors for Locatelli. Petrucci being left in his dust, and it's up to Bautista to clear Petrucci quickly for P4 now.
Another new fastest lap of the race for Razgatlioglu, pulls another half second on Bulega. This is the time where BMW need to give the instruction, because you've got a 5-second lead and you're picking up those extra points again. But Toprak, we know how strong he is, we know how consistent he is, and we also know that he knows how to manage a race very well, so he'll be looking to his pit board all the way through this one.
Yes, fast escaping away at the head of the field, leaving us with a race for 3rd. And for Alvaro Bautista, the key now is to pick off Petrucci quickly in case he fades on the tail of Andrea Locatelli, who you'd have to say had probably better pace than Petrucci in race 1 yesterday, and just couldn't use it from behind him. Now that he's got track position, there is a chance for a 2nd consecutive podium for Locatelli, but it's Bautista who's the danger at the moment to the number 55 Yamaha, as he is within a 10th of a second of Danilo Petrucci. Opportunity into turn 14 if Bautista fancies a bold lunge down the inside. Well, he does fancy it, and he comes from way back against Danilo Petrucci, and Alvaro Bautista does get through into Carro, the slowest corner of the circuit. First gear 60km/h corner on lap number 7. Nice work from Bautista, and now he's within touching distance of the podium places.
Yeah, good and combative there from Alvaro, and you can see for Alex Lowe's on the 22 as well. He's seen that happen in front of him. He knows that he's got a chance to attack Petrucci as well. We saw it yesterday on the switch back between 1 and 2. That's where Lowe's was strong to catch Petrucci by surprise. But on this lap, just that little bit too far back. But Lowe's has to defend from the 14 of Sam Lowe's as well.
Yeah, it's just like yesterday, where Alex has been frustrated by Petrucci. Had one go, couldn't get through. Riding a little bit over the curve there. Sam Lowe's right on his tail in the race for 6th position. Locatelli has managed to break away while Bautista got held up by Petrucci. Bit of a moment there for Bautista on the exit of turn 6, so that's going to cost him all his momentum down the back straight towards La Quercia on lap number 8.
Petrucci just using more meters compared to the riders around him. You saw on the move between 4 and 5 into 6, he was just that little bit wider, a little bit more difficult to get the bike turned across. We'll see what it's like in this section of the track as well. Maybe he's just having that little bit of difficulty. We saw the same yesterday, where his pace was really quite strong, but the other riders just seemed to have that 10th of a second or 2/10 of a second in hand on him, but he defended really well.
2 notifications from Race Direction. The incident at turn 10, Jeremy Gardner and Yari Montella, will be reviewed after the race. Of course, both riders out, so nothing really worth looking at during proceedings. And then track limits warning for Alex Lowe. That ended up being critical for Sam Lowe, remember, yesterday in race number 1. So one to keep an eye on in the remainder. The long 14-lap distance to avoid any further infractions now for Alex Lowe. He tries to fend off Sam Lowe while simultaneously attacking Danilo Petrucci. Let's check the balance of power down the start-finish straight. Razgatlioglu 5.5 clear of Bulega. 2 seconds back is Locatelli in 3rd. Bautista's got the gap down to less than a second, but he's not making swift progress. Then it's Petrucci, Alex Lowe, Sam Lowe, Iker Lecuona right with them now on the tail of Sam Lowe for 7th place.
That Honda's a good bike, and the number 7's doing a good job here this weekend. And for Lowe's on the number 14 bike. He's obviously thinking about making a move into 6th position, but he could easily get caught out by a surprise move from Iker Lecuona. Iker's not afraid to throw it down the inside, down into the likes of turn 8, turn 14. Lowe's is going to have to defend into there.
Lecuona 4/10 of a second faster than Sam Lowe's a lap ago, and Sam actually matching the pace of Alex without being able to find a way through. And the status quo maintained at the moment in this group. Alex not able to pass Petrucci, Sam not able to close on Alex, and then Lecuona right with them. He's going to be the one who's most willing to risk it all. We've seen that time for Lecuona pushing through. 2 9th places for him thus far this weekend. And not quite on the top form we've seen from Honda at times, but there is an opportunity for them to finish with their best result of this weekend.
Yeah, pretty similar pace for all of these 6 riders as well, only a few tenths of a second. Then Jonathan Ray behind them, a little bit faster than some of the riders in the group, the likes of Alex Lowe, so it's kind of closing in a little bit for Ray, but he's still got over a second to make up. But all of these riders, they're all bottled up by someone else.
Bad 2nd and 3rd sectors for Andrea Locatelli on this lap. He lost 3/10 to Alvaro Bautista in sector 2, another 2/10 to Bautista in sector 3, with a new personal best for Bautista in the 3rd sector. And that gap has pretty much halved. We'll see it across the line. Alvaro Bautista, new personal best lap, 1 minute 34.260, and immediately tagging onto his tail, Petrucci and Alex Lowe's, both setting new personal bests as well.
Oh, Jonathan Ray with a big crash at turn 1 there, and we've seen some incidents down into 1 already this weekend, and Ray's able to walk off that one. He was sliding through the asphalt and then down into the gravel, but the bike had a bit of a barrel roll there. Shame for Ray after a strong Super Pole race performance.
Yeah, it was looking good for back-to-back top 10 finishes after a 7th place in the Super Pole race. He crashes out of 9th position, giving Scott Redding now that 9th ahead of Xavi Vierke. We're watching Nicolo Bulega in 2nd place, isolated in this race, the championship leader, 6 seconds behind Razgatlioglu, 2.5 seconds ahead of Locatelli, who has dug in quite nicely because Bautista got the gap down very well midway through last lap. He's doing so again on this lap. There is obviously a bit of a weakness for the Yamaha in the 2nd and 3rd sectors because Bautista's making up ground consistently through there.
Yeah, just to say for Ray as well, he just set his fastest lap of the race. He was pushing as hard as he could to get back onto this group. Locatelli, though, in that 3rd position. He does have the track position, but losing time again in that middle sector, like you said, Alex.
Yes, and you wonder whether part of that is the run through Curvone, where we've always seen the Ducati strong in the past, but either way, for Alvaro Bautista, he is breaking Danilo Petrucci now. 8/10 of a second the gap has opened out to on this lap, so 4/10 gain over Petrucci behind him, and that's going to mean the ceiling for Alex Lowe's, for Sam Lowe's and Iker Lecuona is likely now to be 5th place.
Yeah, and obviously for those riders, that's the fight now, and Bautista trying to give himself a chance of being on the podium, and last time around another 1/4 of a second faster than Locatelli. The gap now 6/10 of a second.
Watching Garrett Gerloff once again, he's in 11th position. The lone Kawasaki on the tail of Xavi Vierke 10th and Scott Redding in 9th. Redding 17 seconds down on the race leader. Scott will at least end with a decent haul of points if things continue on the way they are at present. Andrea Iannone, having started from the back, is up to 12th. You can just see the yellow bike flashing through there. He's ahead of Michael van der Mark. And for the record, Axel Bassani, having served both of his long lap penalties, rejoined basically at the back of the field, and he's now come through for 16th place. Bahattin Sofoglu, his next target for a point.
And you can see for Iannone, they're just trying to get the bike stopped down in towards La Quercia, but lonely race once again for Iannone. A couple of seconds in front of him, and he's come through on Van der Mark, so shouldn't really be under too much attack for the next while. At the front of the field, we're still seeing fast laps coming in from the Ducati riders, and Bulega and Bautista, personal best last time around for Bautista, only 2/10 of a second behind Locatelli, and should be in a position to attack pretty soon.
Yeah, you would have anticipated that Bautista might have even had a chance through Curvone or into turn 14 on this lap 11. So we see Vickers and then Sofoglu rounding out your points-paying positions. Your race is for 3rd with just 2/10 of a second between them.
Bautista's just coming in front of our commentary box, and he's really close to Locatelli now across the line. It's going to be in the next lap that he comes past him.
Andrea Locatelli holding on for 3rd position. That's where he finished in the Super Pole race. He's had track position throughout this race, and he has defended it vigorously. Alvaro Bautista within 1/10 of a second of him across the line. Needs to keep it close in sector 1. He's far stronger than the Yamaha through sectors 2 and 3. and then frankly will be in the positions in this race that you might have anticipated. Locatelli taking a wide sweeping entry to turn 6. He wants to give himself the maximum possible exit speed onto the back straight because he knows Bautista will be coming into La Quercia, and Locatelli just about gets it stopped. Bautista will have to try again, but Tramonto Bautista is strong. Cavone Bautista is strong. This is a matter of time, and it is indeed through Tramonto on lap number 12 that Alvaro Bautista finds his way through on Andrea Locatelli, and the recovery mission is complete. From 11th on the grid in Superpole to 5th in the Superpole race, and now into the podium positions at last. The final race of the weekend here in Misano for Alvaro Bautista.
Yeah, so often we see this with Alvaro. By the time we get to race 2, he's found that pace that he needs, but just takes him that little bit longer than he needs over the course of the weekend. Superpole performance always a big issue for him, but now he's up there in the podium spots. We'll see if Locke can try and answer back to him, but it's going to be difficult for Locke. He hasn't had that same speed and pace as Bautista.
Important one though for Bautista after going without a podium in Most last time out, and 2 5th place finishes there, 6th and 5th this weekend so far. So really good to see Bautista with a little bit more fight about him in race 2 this afternoon.
Just to say though, for Toprak at the front of the field, he's still setting lap times faster than anyone else has gone during the course of this race, and that's been the case for every lap so far. So for Razgatlioglu, he's putting on a show even if he's all on his own.
Yes, even if everyone in the BMW pit boxes probably wishes he wouldn't, because you can afford to just bring this one home cautiously, but that's not necessarily a word in Toprak's vocabulary. Let's take a look through the field then with your podium positions at the moment looking relatively settled. Petrucci's a second behind them in P5, 2/10 ahead of Alex Lowe's, 6/10 to Sam Lowe's.
Alex Lowe's down.
Alex Lowe from 6th position falls on lap 13, unlucky for him, and what a shame for Bimoto, who've had a great weekend through Alex, who was second in the Superpole race earlier on this morning, who'd had back-to-back top 5 finishes. Opportunity to add another has gone away there.
Yeah, and it's a shame for Lowe's. He's ridden really well all the way through this weekend. And for Bimoda, it's a big shame as well, because this has been a really strong weekend for them. Both riders qualifying up inside the top 5. And you're just going to see here for Alex, he's just going to lose the front on the entry into Tramonto, and it's a place where we see so many incidents over the course of a race weekend, but typically you can brake just a metre or 2 late, and then you can end up with an incident like that. So that's a shame there for Alex as Ian O'Neill comes through and Scott Redding.
Ian now up into 10th position following that spill for Alex Lowe's and his pass on Scott Redding. Next in line for him is Garrett Gerloff, then it'll be Xavi Vierke, but the closest race probably for 6th position at the moment. Sam Lowe's and Nicolette Guarda with 3/10 of a second between them, and only 6/10 up to Petrucci now in 5th place.
Yeah, what Iker probably needs to do is just kind of make sure that they don't cost each other time and they're able to give themselves the chance to come through on Petrucci. Obviously, we saw yesterday how well Petrucci can defend, but he has been slower than the other riders around him in that group.
Locatelli sticking with Bautista quite nicely on this lap at the moment. 4/10 of a second the gap between them. Did see Locatelli dig in after he lost 2 places yesterday, and was able to hold on to 5th and was always close to the riders in 3rd and 4th places. So important for Locatelli to latch on to Bautista and just defend that margin of 1.3 seconds at the moment over Danilo Petrucci as Michael van der Mark gets out of shape. Very close to the tail of Scott Redding there, but manages to avoid him. And credit to Garrett Gerloff here in 9th place and attacking forward on Xavi Vierke. He is going to need to get through on him because he's otherwise going to come under pressure from Andrea Iannone and Scott Redding, who are engaging in their own personal scrap at the moment, those 2 independent Ducatis, neither of whom have extracted maximum benefit from their package this season, and both of whom are expecting much more than they've been able to deliver in the championship this year.
Yeah, and one of those situations where this weekend in particular for Xavi, we've been able to see he's been able to dig in deep and given himself that chance of another top 10 finish. He's done well considering the injuries that he's had. He's running up there in 8th position.
Yeah, Xavi Vierke in 8th at the front of that group, ahead of Gerloff, who was talking about there in just 1 top 10 finish for Garrett Gerloff this season so far. A chance to add another here, then Iannone and Redding behind him in that group.
Yeah, look at the pace of Toprak all the way through this race. 13 flying laps, and they're all really fast in the mid 1 minute 33s. The second fastest lap of the race is Nicola Bulega at 33.797, and Toprak faster than that on every single lap so far.
Race for 8th position then between Xavi Vierke and Garrett Gerloff. Gerloff, who was 10th in race 2 of the Czech round, does always seem to come on better as the mid-season comes around, and hot temperatures here, but Garrett Gerloff enjoying life in Misano. was able to come away with 2 points yesterday in race 1. Had decent speed this morning in the Super Pole race with 11th position, but obviously couldn't improve his grid slot from P15, so he's having to do it the hard way on track as we reach 2/3 distance in Misano. In front of the crowd, Garrett Gerloff on the tail of Xavi Vierque, and still swerving around as he tries to find his way through. We know how strong Gerloff is in the final third of races, and he's going to prove it here by coming up the inside on his Kawasaki of the Honda Xavi Vierque, and Garrett Gerloff now in line for his best finish of the season. It's P8 for the Texan.
And obviously for Xavi as well, he's trying to give himself the chance to fight back, but with the injuries as well, he's just digging in for everything he has, and he's actually doing a really good job considering that he's back on the bike a few weeks before anyone expected him to be.
This battle for 8th is not over. At the moment, it's a 5-rider group with Michael van der Mark there as Xavi Vierque lunges on Garrett Gerloff, and that's going to open the door to Andrea Iannone as well. They come through the final turn, the Misano corner on lap number 15. And Xavi Vierque has the advantage with Andrea Iannone. Powers off the final bend on lap 15 and through. So Iannone, recovering from the back of the grid after a tyre pressure infringement, is now up to 8th place, and poor old Garrett Gerloff, having done the hard work, is back down to 10th again.
Yeah, and you can see for Gerloff, he's in a position to try and attack again there on the 97 of Xavi Vierque.
And all the while, he's got to keep an eye on Redding behind him, and Michael van der Mark as well, looking to pick up the pieces. Best we've seen from van der Mark in an otherwise miserable weekend.
Yeah, it has been really tough for Mikey, so hopefully for him, he's able to give himself that chance to come away with a top 10 finish.
Lap 16. Andrea Iannone we ride on board with in 8th place, ahead of Xavi Vierque, Garrett Gerloff, Scott Redding, Michael van der Mark, all covered by just half a second. New personal best laps last time around from Andrea Locatelli and Sam Lowes. Locatelli trying to close back down on Alvaro Bautista. Sam Lowes trying to challenge Danilo Petrucci for P5.
Petrucci doing a good job in this lap just to dig in and find another few tenths of a second. So everyone's trying to just find some sort of speed and grip out there. It really is tricky, and that's why you see all these moves in the midfield group here as well. And if you're that little bit out of line, it opens the chance for someone else to come through. You can see like Scott Redding's made a mistake on this lap. Van der Mark came through, and suddenly Van der Mark has the chance to attack on Xavi Vierque as well.
Yes, couldn't quite find his way past. Ikelekuona 7 tenths now back from Sam Lowes. Faster than him by exactly a tenth of a second at last lap around. Lekuona matching Petrucci's pace identically to a thousandth of a second as well on lap 16. On to lap 17 now. Razgatlioglu leads Bulega by 8 seconds. Bautista 7 tenths ahead of Locatelli. Petrucci 7 tenths ahead of Sam Lowes, and Ikelekuona another 6 tenths back. So this is your closest group. Iannone, Gerloff, Vierque, van der Mark, Redding, and Ryan Vickers latching on now as well. Over a second faster than Scott Redding last time around in P13, Ryan Vickers.
Yeah, half a second faster than anyone in the group other than Iannone, just matching the same pace as Iannone. So good effort there from Vickers.
Yeah, Ryan Vickers running 13th place at the moment. Remember, started in 18th position on the grids. Qualified P19 originally. And Ryan Vickers trying to make some progress on the tail of Scott Redding, as Iannone starts to come under pressure from Garrett Gerloff here. This is a really strong ride from Gerloff.
Yeah, it's always good when you see Garrett able to dig himself in and give himself a chance in these end of race stints. And for Gerloff, on the Kawasaki, third different bike he's ridden in World SBK, but every bike he's been on, we've seen him strong at the end of races.
Yes, we watch Michael van der Mark here attacking Xavi Vierque. This group has broken in two, hasn't it? Gerloff swarming all around the tail of Andrea Iannone for 8th place. This is Ryan Vickers at the back of the group. It's P13 him. Redding looked a little bit sluggish through there, and that's going to open the door to Vickers to attack, and that's particularly miserable for Scott Redding if he gets passed here by Ryan Vickers. Over action, not in the best of form or the best of news at the moment, as we come onto the start-finish straight for the start of lap number 18. Iannone versus Gerloff, 2 tenths between them. Van der Mark 2 tenths behind Vierque. Vickers right on the tail of Redding after a sluggish final sector last time around. Vickers, who had a best score this season of 4 points in Australia, 3 of them in race 1 and then another in race 2. Looking good for his best haul of points this campaign if he can come away with 2 13th place finishes. Of course, best result this season was 10th in the Superpole race in Assen in mixed conditions, but he didn't score for that one. And we come into the braking zone with Iannone leading Gerloff. And Vickers is through now. on Scott Redding, so that is for 12th place.
Yeah, Scott really, he's one of the riders out there on that harder front tyre, maybe just suffering a little bit at the end of this race. Garrett Gerloff, incidentally, another rider out there on that hard tyre. Typically, the Kawasaki in the past did like the harder tyre in these kind of conditions. Scott just can't get the bike stopped.
No, and Scott is 7 seconds ahead of Axel Bassani. Then another second to Bahattin Safoglu and about 20 seconds to Michael Ruben Rinaldi. So he should score if he can bring the bike home. But it does look as though he's just coasting round now. Scott Redding already dropped back dramatically, couldn't get the bike stopped at the end of lap 17 as Gerloff attacks. And that was a late move to the inside, which Iannone had covered, and Gerloff had to back out of it. But he is still working hard, Garrett Gerloff, giving us some entertainment in the closing stages. Might also have a battle on here for 5th position. I did say before it was the next most likely for an overtake. Petrucci's pace has dropped off into the 1:35s now. Sam Lowe's only 3/10 back from him, still in the 34s, as is Iker Lecuona, who's closing on the pair of them. Garrett Gerloff attacking Andrea Iannone for 8th place. And all the while, Xavi Vierque just 4/10 of a second behind. Will Gerloff get the move done this time around? To the inside again, to the inside and very close to Iannone, and this time he forces his way through. There was no gap there, but he made one. More great riding from Garrett Gerloff, and good to see a bit of a highlight reel for the Texan for 2025. He's up into 8th position, and that would be his best of the campaign if he can hold on to it with 2.5 laps to go.
Xavi Vierge is in a position now to attack Iannone as well. He had a good run out of turn 6 to give himself that chance, and for Andrea Iannone, he needs to see if he's able to get a bit of a run now on Garrett Gerloff out of turn 10. You can see that for Iannone. He's wide on the entry, and that's going to give Vierge the chance now.
Xavi Vierque versus Andrea Iannone for 9th position. Quick look at the race for 5th. Petrucci still 3/10 ahead of Sam Lowe's. Lowe's in the second half of this lap has looked particularly good. Lecuona in the first half of this lap was only a 10th away from Sam Lowe's. So 3-rider scrap for 5th position with 2 laps to go here in Misano. Race for the lead settled down very early on once Bulega had got himself through from 10th to 2nd. Alvaro Bautista then fighting his way through from 5th on the grid to 3rd. And from there it's just been a race for P5, and we pick it up now. Petrucci ahead of Sam Lowe's and Iker Lecuona at the back of that trio. Probably been the fastest of the 3 of them, but not by enough of a margin to make a move.
Yeah, we've been able to see Iker just find those couple of tenths of a second on Petrucci. He's kept himself close to Sam Lowe's as well. 2 laps to go though, and the clock ticks down quickly here at Misano. They know that they've got only the thick end of 3 minutes to get themselves through on these positions, and for Petrucci, he's had to ride that rear gunner all the way through this race.
It's Petrucci versus Sam Lowe's again, as it was in Moss last time out. That's Andrea Iannone. So he's come to grief in that battle for the top 10 places at the start of lap number 20.
Yeah, the front, you'd imagine, is just going to go from, we saw him have that moment into Tremonto where he couldn't get the bike stopped on the angle, and for Iannone, a really tough weekend. He needed to come away with that top 10 finish.
Yeah, turn 3 spill for Andrea Iannone ends his race. And lap 20 of 21 moves Alex Lowe's up into the points after his earlier spill. He was able to remount. A shame for the entertainment that battle was delivering, actually, but that puts Xavi Vierque up into 9th. He's a second behind Garrett Gerloff, so that finishes that one off. Now it's just the 3-rider scrap for 5th position, and Iker Lecuona is ahead of Sam Lowe's. We rejoin the battle for 5th with Lecuona, the number 7 Honda, ahead of Sam Lowe's. Lowe's relegated to 7th place, and does Lecuona have enough in hand now to go after Petrucci for 5th on the final lap? Here's what happened.
Yeah, Iker just comes down into turn 14 and puts his bike in there and just makes the move. And Petrucci's going to face a similar move as well from the number 7 Honda. You wouldn't be too surprised even down in towards turn 8 if he's able to do that. That's Scott Redding down at turn 14, but at least able to get the bike restarted and get going. That also means that for Redding, a little bit like Iannone, we saw him struggling on that front.
Yeah, obviously problems for Scott Redding, and you'd expect he'd probably pull into the pits now after that spill. Alex Lowe's is going to pass him for 14th position, and that will be about all she wrote as far as Scott Redding is concerned. He's just making his way through the final turn now. So deep into this final lap for Toprak Razgatlioglu. Through Curvone one more time at high speed. Nicolo Bulega over 10 seconds behind him in 2nd position. This has been a demolition job from Toprak Razgatlioglu, one which will narrow his championship deficit to just 9 points at the halfway mark in this 2025 season. Don't miss World SBK in the second half of this year. Toprak Razgatlioglu reignites the title fight at the Pirelli Emilia-Romagna round. Hat-trick hero here last year. He's done it again to match the all-time winning record in Misano, his 8th win at this circuit. And Razgatlioglu goes in front for wins in 2025 as well, whilst narrowing his points margin and deficit to just 9 points. Nicolo Bulega second with a damage limitation ride, and Alvaro Bautista finishes the weekend in Misano, back on the podium for the first time since race 2 in Cremona. Another third-place finish for Bautista. Separate battle further back, Locatelli with 4th. So never out of the top 5 this weekend for the Yamaha man. That's a good effort. Danilo Petrucci holds 5th, but only by a 10th over Lecuona. Sam Lowe's 7th. A weekend that promised a little bit more than that, but it just goes to show how much the progress has been this season, that the expectation would have been a podium. Garrett Gerloff, 8th place, his best finish this season so far. Only second top 10 finish of the campaign. Xavi Vierque 9th, bit of a reward for his return from injury prematurely for this weekend. And Michael van der Mark into the top 10. Ryan Vickers, his best points haul this season. Of course, not his best finish. He had a 10th place in the Superpole race in Assen, but it was not worth any points. Ryan Vickers with 11th here. Bassani, Sofoglu, Alex Lowe's gets something for remounting. It's 14th place. And that should leave Michael Ruben Rinaldi with another point, by my reckoning, in 15th position once they get there. Toprak Razgatlioglu wins in Misano then, narrows the championship deficit to just 9 points. Job well done. There were 3 circuits where last season he managed hat-tricks that were all in a row in the 2025 calendar. Most, Misano and Donington Park. Toprak's won 5 of those 6 races. He's doing exactly the job he needs to do. Yeah, he's doing what he needed to do, and certainly for Razgatlioglu, important to be able to come away with the 3 wins here. Even more critical that Bulega had that non-score in the Superpole race. 9 points between them for the second half of the season, and you certainly wouldn't bet against Toprak at this stage, but for Bulega, he's done a good job in this race. He kept a cool head, he got himself up into second. He didn't try and chase down Toprak. He knew that it was more important just to come away with those 20 points. Well, we might have to ask our colleagues next door what that said, but the word MotoGP is, I noticed that, so I must be learning Turkish fast. Nicolo Bulega has come up from 10th position to 2nd. We knew he would. The question was how quickly he could do it to get after Razgatlioglu, and by the time he got into 2nd place, Toprak was gone, 4 seconds up the road. Yeah, and from that point on, Toprak, he probably just wanted to enjoy himself, really, and just try and put in some fast laps. Just even on that last lap, celebrating across the line with a stoppie, he's still in the 1 minute 35, low 35. So just showed that he never really gave up pushing during the course of that race, and super stuff from Razgatlioglu as usual. Nice to see for Alvaro Bautista as well, on to the podium after what has been a challenging spell for him. Obviously, the weekend in Most at 2 5th places, and then crashing out of race 2. And then here in Misano, the bad news in advance of the round that he wouldn't be retained for next season, a 6th and a 5th. He finally gets back onto the rostrum. That'll be a relief as much as anything for Bautista. Yeah, and for Alvaro, his last race in front of the Italian fans as an official Ducati rider, and you can see what it means for him as well. Might only be 3rd place, and obviously for Alvaro, with all the success he's had, he wants to get back to winning races, but he also wants to mark the occasion there. Yeah, they only just wait another 2 years and he'll be back again, I think, by past reckoning. No, this time it's for good, honest. Toprak Razgatlioglu wins ahead of Nicolo Bulega and Alvaro Bautista. A hat-trick for Razgatlioglu, just as he managed in Portimao. And this time, he's been able to take more points because it was only 13, which is the minimum gain in the Portuguese round. But with 12 points lost for Nicolo Bulega in the Superpole race, Toprak narrows the championship deficit to just 9 points. That'll be the last of that engine then, I suspect, as Toprak Razgatlioglu makes his way back to the pits. Yeah, and for Toprak, he's given the team a little bit of work to do there on the clean-up operation, but I think with a hat-trick of wins, they're not going to be too disappointed. And for Razgatlioglu, just wants to put on a bit of a show there. That's a few stoppies in front of
the different areas where there's a big crowd here this weekend, over 75,000, and the paddock has certainly been heaving all the way through this weekend. You'll expect to see most of them out here now in front of the podium down in the paddock show.
It's quite a weird situation, isn't it? It's almost like a bit of a farewell tour, but Toprak's still got a title to chase, and so he's having to deal with the sort of future in MotoGP, the farewell to World SBK, and a title battle against one of the toughest rivals that you can have. Nicolo Bulega and Ducati, that combination seems sensational, and Toprak is handling it masterfully.
Yeah, Toprak, once he's on the bike, he just wants to focus on the task at hand, and there is always the extra details that come with each round and each challenge that you're going to face. And for Razgatlioglu, this weekend was all about getting through Thursday, dealing with the media engagements, all the interviews, all the questions, and obviously at Misano with all of the extra Italian journalists, it is a little bit busier. For BMW, they opened up the weekend by saying to the media, you have 15 minutes to ask Toprak about MotoGP. From that point on, we're focusing on World SBK. And for Razgatlioglu, he's been able to deal with that and then focus on the job at hand once he's been on track.
Yeah, brilliant performance from Toprak. Razgatlioglu, and as I said at one stage there, a bit of a demolition job in race 2, but he was pushed hard in race 1. Sunday has been what you dream of probably the night before, where your rival isn't going to be close to you and you can have a nice easy day winning both races and at a canter as well.
Just down there in Park Fermi, you can see Danilo Petrucci, the leading independent rider. We said on the grid he didn't look like he was in the best, and certainly for Petrucci, looks like this one took an awful lot out of him, so you wouldn't be too surprised if maybe a little bit under the weather from today's race.
Yes, Danilo Petrucci coming home in 5th position. Next to the independents was Sam Lowes in 7th. Here's your result in full. Razgatlioglu wins 9.7 seconds over Nicolo Bulega in 2nd, Alvaro Bautista in 3rd, and then Andrea Locatelli in 4th, and gaps of at least 2 seconds between all of your top 5. Behind was closer for 5th, Petrucci beating Lecuona by a 10th over the line. Sam Lowes 4 tenths behind them in a 3-rider group for 7th, and then a 5-rider scrap for 8th, eventually won by Garrett Gerloff ahead of Xavi Vierque, Michael van der Mark, Ryan Vickers getting the better of Scott Redding, who ultimately was a lap down and outside of the points. As far as the points are concerned, Nicolo Bulega, after 6 rounds completed and 6 still to go, leads the championship, but only by 9 points over Toprak Razgatlioglu, who has won 5 of the last 6 races. It is game on in the championship. Danilo Petrucci will leave Misano 7 points ahead of Alvaro Bautista, so not much change between the two of them over the course of the whole weekend, with a podium each. And then Andrea Locatelli, 22 points down on Petrucci, hanging on in there, but you do rather feel that Bautista and Petrucci have possibly got the legs on Locatelli for 3rd in the standings. Another solid weekend of scoring for Sam Lowes, couple of points in the end, the reward for remounting for Alex Lowes. Nicolo Bulega, 2nd place for him, and all he can do is debrief with the team and hope that they find something extra for the next round in Donington Park, because if anything, Toprak is even stronger there than he is here in Misano.
Well, ultimately, there wasn't really much to choose between them. It's bad luck for Bulega that he has the crash in the Superpole race. That's not his fault. And then it impacts him in race 2 as well, just because it was always going to take him that bit of time to come through, and Toprak was going to open a gap. And for Bulega, probably took him a lap or two too long to make that progress, even though he made pretty rapid progress. It's just the knife edge you live on when you're up against Toprak.
Yes, time and tyre as well for Nicolo Bulega, fighting his way through from 10th to 2nd. He made swift progress off the line to 7th, but took a little bit longer for him to get through the rest. Alvaro Bautista, actually, if anything, was the main stumbling block for Nicolo Bulega, and that's something that Ducati are going to have to think about for the remainder of the season, because Bautista, on this occasion, generally Bulega's qualifying ahead of Bautista and it's not a factor, but there is still a team game to be played, teams and Riders World Championship for Bulega.
Yeah, and for Bulega, obviously enough, the focus is the Riders' Championship, but for Ducati, still leading the Manufacturers' Championship, and he's got a job to do now in the second half of the season, and he knows it. He's up against Toprak, and you're trying to win that World Championship. But for Bulega, going into the next round, he's got 4 weeks to think about things, reflect on things, and try and just make sure that you can bounce back at the next round.
Alvaro Bautista moves a clear 4th in the all-time rankings for Podiums, and it's a third place, his best result since race 2 in Cremona 6 weeks ago.
Well, Alvaro's been a difficult few races. You haven't had a podium since Cremona, race number 2, but it's been a difficult weekend. This must feel amazing just to get back on the podium and start rebuilding everything again.
Yeah, for sure, has been very difficult weekend, and also the temperature for sure didn't help, no? But it was strange because all the mornings I was able to go fast and consistent and good. The feeling with the bike was not so bad. But always more temperature on the track, more difficult was for me. And, you know, with all the inertia, it's more difficult to stop the bike, especially when the grip is low on the track. Also push me out on the corner. Also, I always try to do the best, no? Yesterday, we had the pace to be on the podium, but starting from the back is difficult here. It's not like another track that maybe I have a little bit more than the rest of the field to fight for the podium, but here we were very close, especially in hot condition. So in the morning today I can gain some position, and I started better in race 2, so I can fight for the podium. I'm happy to end like this. Yeah, I look forward to improve the feeling with the bike and try to be more competitive.
Congratulations, Alvaro.
Thank you. Grazie, ragazzi.
Third place for Alvaro Bautista. He's not on the pace to go with Razgatlioglu and Bulega. He made Bulega's life hard enough, but then had to cede. And from there, it was about fighting his way through. Ultimately, good ride from Bautista to pick off riders one by one. They're no slouches, the likes of Petrucci and Locatelli. And remember, they're the men he's fighting for third in the World Championship this season, so important to get through on both of them.
Yeah, it really was. And for Alvaro, the gap now down to just 7 points between himself and Petrucci. And really important to come away with that podium. And certainly, it's one that he's going to remember.
And as I said, a podium that moves him clear fourth in the all-time rankings for podiums in World SBK. Second place today, though, goes to Nicolo Bulega. It's his only podium on Sunday in Misano, the 39th of his career. Still leads the championship at the halfway mark in 2025.
Well, Nicolo, despite the result, you're still getting a big cheer from the fans. It was a great recovery from 10th to 2nd. It's been a difficult sort of day for you, but you're still leading the championship.
Yeah, honestly, not the perfect weekend. Some unlucky during the weekend, so I'm happy for race 2, but unfortunately when I overtake the riders in front of me, Toprak had already a lot of gap between me and him. So I decided that second was good because I had to take too many risks to try to catch him, and also he was very strong. So congratulations to him and BMW, and I hope to make another great weekend next time.
Well done, Nicolo.
Thank you. Ciao a tutti.
Nicolo Bulega with second place. All he can do is move on to the next round and accept that it's a big points loss here in Misano. 10 in the 2 feature-length races, 12 in the Superpole race. 22 points lost, the gap down to just 9 points. And it's a margin that he's been nursing since Phillip Island. He's had a bit of bad luck because he should have taken a lot of points out over Toprak in Assen in April. But the reality is this: we start the second half of the campaign practically set back to scratch.
Yeah, it's really exciting now going into the second half of the year. There's been so little to choose between Toprak and Bulega throughout the course of the campaign that it always is going to ebb and flow on that bit of momentum, that bit of luck. And both riders have had their bits of bad luck through the course of the season so far. They've shown themselves with class apart, and you really want them to have that chance to go head-to-head, and we have that now for the second half of the campaign.
Yes, absolutely. We had a great race between them at the end of the weekend in Mars. Think about the brilliant battles we had in Portimao. A lot more still to come this season from Bulega versus Razgatlioglu, the 2025 title race. Donington Park, Magny-Cours still to come for Toprak. He'll be hoping to lead after those 2 rounds.
Yeah, and for Razgatlioglu, Donington, he'll certainly think that there's a real chance to do the hat-trick there. We've got a brand new track at Hungary in the middle of the gap before Magny-Cours. Most of the teams are actually going to go to Hungary to test or do days on their road bikes as well, and gain that experience of a new track.
8th Misano win for Toprak Razgatlioglu, with which he matches Jonathan Ray around this circuit. Our new master of Most is Razgatlioglu.
Well, Toprak, it's been the perfect weekend for you, the treble, and of course closing into the championship lead. Now just 9 points. Did you think coming into the weekend that they could have gone any better?
First, I say thanks to my team because the incredible job this weekend, and we had improved all sessions, especially last session I feel much better. Still, I have a big problem corner 4, but anyway, I'm in the race and manage. Yeah, it's a strong pace. I'm pushing so hard because Nicolo is starting 10th position. I'm beginning the race. I'm pushing so hard. And I'm very happy. I did 3 wins like last year, and we will see the next year. And thanks to all fans, and see you next year. Thank you very much.
Well done, Toprak.
See you next year, but not in World SBK. Toprak Razgatlioglu wins race 2, hoping to leave this paddock, of course, as a world champion. And going the right way about it. 5 wins in the last 6 races. 3 points clawed back in Most, but a big haul of 22 points gained here in Misano.
Yeah, and for Toprak, obviously, this is a place where he's had so much success in the past, but when you look at what he's been able to achieve this weekend, even though he's up against Ducati, the Italian fans giving him a great reception because it's impossible not to respect the job he's doing. It's also impossible not to respect the job Bulega's doing. It can get lost a little bit in a race like this because he finishes the best part of 10 seconds behind Razgatlioglu, but he had to come from the 4th row of the grid. He's had 2 crashes today. He got himself up into 2nd, and he settled for it, and that's that bit of maturity that you need if you're going to win the World Championship.
When Toprak's matching Jonathan Ray's records, as he has done here at the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli with his 8th win, you know that he's going about his business in the right fashion. He has become the 2nd on the all-time winning list in World SBK this weekend. He's extended that with a 66th victory there. Toprak Razgatlioglu, fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 33.471, so another point in the Pirelli Best Lap Award. We'll make that 7 fastest laps all told, including the Superpole race as well. Toprak Razgatlioglu. Time for your podium then, starting with Alvaro Bautista. Long-awaited return to the rostrum for him. Podium number 117, with which he passes Hager for a clear 4th in the all-time records. Still waiting for his first win of the season, though, Alvaro Bautista. Just waiting for this podium ceremony to kick off, but there is Alvaro Bautista. 3rd position for him here today. It was a tough weekend in Most where it could have ended on a high, but race 2, he had misfortune, and this weekend does end on a high. Even if he was starting the weekend in that fashion, though, you don't feel that he's got quite enough to go with Nicolo Bulega at the moment.
Yeah, and it is one of those things where for Ducati, that's the reason why they've made the decision they've made. They've got Bulega as their champion in waiting. They've got Bulega as their star. They need to find the future. And Alvaro, we saw in the early stages of this race, wasn't willing to concede anything to his teammate as well. And I'm excited to see a fully motivated and almost vengeful Alvaro Bautista for the second half of the season.
Wow, we're taking the championship to a dark place, Steve. Alvaro Bautista, 3rd place for him today, back on the podium, first time in 6 races. 2nd goes to Nicolo Bulega. Podium number 39 for him in World SBK. Podium number 15 for him this season. Toprak obviously moving on to 14 for the season. His 9th victory of the campaign. Top step of the podium for the 66th time in this championship. There is Nicolo Bulega, a modest celebration of P2 in race 2 to end the weekend with 2 second places and a retirement. And we saw the devastation in the Superpole race because Bulega knows what that means, losing 12 points in one go when the margin was slender and is coming down round after round. And with Toprak so good at Donington Park as well, the BMW Motorrad team will be optimistic that he leaves the UK round as the World Championship leader.
Yeah, and certainly for BMW, we've seen the motivation that they have and the focus that they have on Toprak to be able to win this championship. Obviously, after last season, they know that it is one of those situations that they need to back up what they did last year. And in fairness, Chris Gontra, we can see going up onto the podium, he's the man under the most pressure to do that. With the change for the chassis for this year, it's come down to the engineering side of BMW to find improvements. And over the course of the last 3 or 4 rounds, they've been able to do that.
I have to say, in Assen, it was not looking good at all for Toprak Razgatlioglu. And after Cremona, it was looking even worse. 3 second places behind Bulega in Cremona. 2 races where he couldn't make the podium in Assen, and now suddenly he's only 9 points behind.
Absolutely. Thank you to the World Feed for taking you through that one. But as the champagne flows here in Misano after race 2 of the World Superbikes here at the Emilia-Romagna round. But in 4 weeks' time, we are back in the UK for the United Kingdom round at Donington Park Grand Prix. That is, of course, alongside the World WCR. Once more, that is also on the same weekend as the German MotoGP round, alongside many others like Berlin Formula E, Iowa, IndyCar, IMSA with their Chevrolet Grand Prix, the 6 Hours of Sao Paulo, and Sonoma NASCAR with Mugello Italian F4. But we've got an hour and 5 minutes left in the 2025 edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and you will be automatically redirected there. We'll see you over there.